Good afternoon. Welcome to today's science lesson. Okay, so the date is the same as it was this morning, Tuesday the 19th of January. You'll be pleased to know I've got the right date today, which is 2021, on yesterday's arithmetic. The bubble noticed that I put 2020. Easy mistake to make. It does take some getting used to, so I apologise for that. But I have put 2021 today. So your science skill today is to describe the movement of the Earth and other planets relative to the Sun in the solar system. Okay. So, first things first. Talk to your partner. What do you already know about space? Okay, so if you're at home, you can go back through your book and find out what we did last week, see if you can remember any of the facts that we learnt in science last week when you did your, topic last week, we did your top trump cards, I think. I can't remember what you did last week now. I know you did your top trump cards last week, okay, so think carefully about what you already know. If you're in school, obviously you can have a talk to people around you, or again, you can look through your work. Okay, think about what you already know. Okay, so the Sun and these 8 planets make up our solar system. Okay, there are many other objects in the solar system too. Okay, so you've got the moons, comets, asteroids, dwarf planets. Wonder if you remember the dwarf planet I mentioned last week, which is no longer a planet. Okay, we'll find out in a minute. So our solar system is one of many. Okay, so scientists think there are maybe tens of billions of solar systems out there. That's just in our galaxy. Okay, so Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet, but I used to remember the planets using a mnemonic. Okay, a mnemonic is a system or a pattern which helps you remember certain words or in a certain order, such as because. Okay, so big elephants cause accents under small elephants. The beginning of each word, the beginning letter of each word spells out because. Now, I used to say, my very easy method just sums up naming planets. Because we had Mercury, which was my very easy method just sums up naming. And then Pluto went. Okay, Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet, so now I haven't got a P for Pluto. So I need a new mnemonic. What I'd like you to do, just as a quick starter task, is to think of a new mnemonic, okay? You can do it as a class. Obviously, if you're at home, you can think of a new one, write it down in your book, okay? But I need a new one to remember because it's really tricky to remember the planets when you haven't got a P at the end for planets, okay? It doesn't really make sense. My very easy method just sums up naming. Naming what? Okay, so think of a new mnemonic for me, or for the class. That'd be really great. Write it down in your books to help you remember the order of the planets too. Okay, it's really important that you know the order of the planets because it helps you all, answer certain questions. Okay, like which is the furthest planet from the Sun? Straight away, if you can think of your mnemonic, you think, it's Neptune. Because it's the last one. Because whatever your mnemonic's going to be, you'll have the N at the end. Okay, so pause the video. Good luck with that and have fun. Okay, so what I would like you to do, I'd like you to write a glossary of keywords in your book. Okay, I've started a list for you. As you hear them, okay, or as they're spoken about, so either on a video that you're going to watch or throughout the lesson, I'd like you to add their definitions, okay, and add any words that you are unsure of. So I would probably leave a couple of lines between each one in your books because some of them are going to need a bigger definition than others, okay, and of course you need to add them, so if there might be other words that you don't know or other words that you want to write the definition down that you can add that I may have missed. Okay, so feel free to add your own to help you. So you're writing this in your workbooks or your catch-up books that you're using at the moment. And remember, a glossary is always written in alphabetical order. Okay, so what you might want to do, if you do add another word, you might want to leave 3 lines between each one perhaps, just so you've got room if you do add a word. Okay, so as I say, you're writing definitions about each of these words as you learn them and add in your own words as well. Okay, watch the following video and listen carefully. Make notes to help you to explain the movement of the Earth and other planets in relation to the Sun. Okay, I'm going to play the video. You can pause, obviously, my video as and when you like, which will also pause this one. Okay, there's a real great deal of information in this video. Okay, so please make lots of notes so you can write a paragraph at the end of the lesson explaining the movement of the Earth and other planets. Okay, those keywords in your glossary are ideal for you to write your paragraph to include those. Okay, so let's have a watch.
Rotation and revolution. Did you know that the Earth is always in motion? We don't see or feel it moving. That's because everything on Earth is moving with us. Think of riding in a car down a highway. Pretend you're sitting very still. You don't feel like you're moving. You don't seem to be moving, but you're moving at 50 miles per hour down the highway. Traveling on the Earth is like that. Let's look at the Earth's movement. First, the Earth is always moving around the Sun. The Sun is the center of the solar system. The Earth and all other planets orbit it. We call this a fixed orbit. It always stays the same. We say that the Earth revolves around the Sun. It constantly goes around it. It never stops. We call this the Earth's revolution. How long does it take the Earth to complete one revolution around the Sun? It takes about 365 days. We call this time 1 year. Other planets have longer or shorter years. Mercury has a very short year. It takes only 88 days to go around the Sun once. But a year on Neptune takes around 60,000 days. What's another way the Earth moves? The Earth also spins around. It rotates. We call this the Earth's rotation. Have you ever watched a top spin around? The Earth does the same thing. The Earth's rotation is very important to us. Have you ever wondered why we have days and nights? Why does the sun seem to come up in the morning? Why does it seem to go down at night? Days and nights happen because of the Earth's rotation. The Earth spins around from west to east. As it spins, one side of it faces the sun. The other side faces away from the sun. When we're facing the sun, we have light. We call it day. When we face away from the sun, we don't have the sun's light. We call it night. It takes 24 hours for the Earth to rotate once. We call this 1 day. In the morning, the sun looks like it's rising in the east. Our side of the Earth is turning towards it. We are coming into the sun's light. In the evening, it looks like the sun is setting in the west. Our side of the earth is turning away from the sun. Night is coming. What is happening on the other side of the world when we have day? That's right, the other side of the world is having night. When we have night, they have day. There's more to learn about the Earth's rotation. We say the Earth rotates on its axis. The axis is an imaginary line that goes through the middle of the Earth. It helps us understand how the Earth spins. The axis is not straight up and down. The Earth tilts a little as it spins. This tilting is very important. It's the reason we have seasons. We can think of the Earth as being in two parts, the top part and the bottom part. These are called hemispheres. The top of the Earth is called the northern hemisphere. The lower half is called the southern hemisphere. Sometimes the northern hemisphere is tilted toward the sun, and sometimes it is tilted away from the sun. In January, the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, so it doesn't get much of the sun's light. The southern hemisphere gets more sunlight. So the southern hemisphere has summer, while the northern hemisphere has winter. The southern hemisphere has longer days. The northern hemisphere has shorter days. The North Pole is now in darkness for 6 months because it is tilted away from the sun. And the South Pole has 6 months of day because it is always tilted towards the sun. In June, the northern hemisphere is tilted toward the sun. It gets more direct sunlight. It's summertime in the northern hemisphere. What season is it in the southern hemisphere? That's right, winter. Now the southern hemisphere gets shorter days. The northern hemisphere gets the longer ones. The poles are now in opposite positions to where they were in January, with the North Pole having 6 months of day and the South Pole 6 months of night. In March and September, the sun is facing right at the middle of the Earth. The rays of the sun hit the northern and southern hemispheres equally. Days and nights are about equal in length. It's not hot like summer. It's not cold like winter. We have spring and fall. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. They all depend on the sun and the tilt of the earth. What is your favorite season? Remember, the movement of the earth does many things. It helps us measure time. It gives us years and days. It gives us daytime to play in and nighttime to sleep in. It gives us winter, spring, summer, and fall. The movement of the earth is very important. Let us now summarize what we have learned.
Okay, so hopefully you found that video really informative. There's so much information. You may want to rewind it, okay, and pause it, especially when it's summarising at the end. Just one thing to mention there, They were saying that it is autumn. They didn't. They said it's spring, summer, winter and fall. It's an American video, so in England we call it autumn. Okay, so good. I hope you've got lots of notes written down about the Earth. Okay, perhaps you want to include hemisphere in your glossary and talk about the seasons and the night and day. Okay, you're not writing your paragraph yet, but you are writing notes and obviously adding to your glossary for the words that you learn. Okay. So planets move around the sun following a curved path. Okay, we call this curved path an orbit. And although it looks like some of them are orbiting a circle, each planet's orbit around the sun is shaped like an ellipse. Okay, which is a shape that looks like an oval or a flattened circle. Although most planets spin anti-clockwise, so the same way as the sun, Venus actually rotates in a clockwise direction. Okay, so I'm going to do this, it might be opposite to you in the video, but so planets go anti-clockwise, and so this way, opposite way to a clock, but Venus goes clockwise. That's probably going to come opposite to you, I'm not too sure, but you know what I mean. So, so scientists think that because Venus was struck a long time ago by a large object which changed the way it was spinning, which is an interesting fact. So when a planet makes one complete orbit around the sun, this is counted as 1 year on that planet. Okay, so we saw that Earth takes 365 days. Okay, and then when you did your top trump cards, you would have seen the different amounts of time for the other planets, okay, to orbit around the sun. And it also depends on how fast the planet is travelling, how far it is away from the sun. So planets have different lengths of time on the planets. Okay, so which planet takes the shortest amount of time to orbit the sun? Okay, hopefully you've got your mnemonic in front of you, so you'll be able to see that the closest one to the sun, so the one that's got the smallest orbit, which takes the least amount of time, was Mercury. Okay, now this is an ellipse. Okay, this is the kind of shape. So when you look at a picture of the solar system, quite often it's identified with the lines, and you'll notice that lines aren't a circle. Okay, they're like a squashed circle, like an oval shape. Okay, the planets orbit the sun because they are caught by the sun's massive gravitational force. Okay, so the sun's pull of gravity keeps them in their place. So the planets, without gravity, wouldn't follow the path and they'd go flying off in a straight line into space. Okay, so the gravity pulls all the planets towards the sun to keep them where they are. So if you imagine a swing ball, you know the game, you've got a tennis ball and you have to hit it, that's on a piece of string. When it's flying round fast, it stays in the same position. Okay, so it's just like that. Okay. It's the same way that each planet orbits the sun. Most planets are orbited by the objects such as the moon. Okay, so the Earth's orbited by the moon. So this image here was what I was explaining about, like a swing ball. Okay, it's exactly the same for the Earth and the moon. Some planets are orbited by lots of moons. Do you remember which planet has the most? Okay, you might want to go back through your work from last week and see if you can remember. Okay, each planet also spins on its axis as it moves. So this word was mentioned in the video too. So at any one time, it's daytime for a part of the planet that is facing the sun and nighttime for the part that is facing away. Okay, so there's like an imaginary line, okay, which is called the axis. So this is like an imaginary line here, and it goes from north to south. So from the North Pole to the South Pole, and it's at a tilt of 23.5 degrees. Okay, so this is tilted here. some planets spin faster than others, the length of a day. So we spoke about the orbit, okay, for the to go around the sun, okay, and how fast it spins on its axis for the day can also change between different planets. Which planet has the shortest day? Now, Mercury has the shortest year because that orbits the sun. Which planet spins on its axis the quickest? Okay. Now, hopefully you won't be thinking it's Mercury because I've just explained that bit, but it's actually Jupiter. And Jupiter has a day which is around 9 hours 55 minutes. So it's really quick, isn't it? You'd get older quicker. Okay, so the Earth moves in 2 different ways. It rotates and revolves. Okay, talk to your partner. What does this mean? See if you can remember the facts from the video, what it means, and what we've just spoken about the year and the day. Okay, so have a think and chat to your partner. Okay, so the revolution, so when the Earth revolves, it's the orbit around the sun. Okay, so this is when it goes all around. This is ellipse here, goes round, and it takes just over 365 days. When it rotates, it's when it spins on its own axis, okay, which takes Earth 24 hours. Okay, so each planet takes a different amount of time to orbit the sun. And each planet takes a different amount of time to spin, to rotate. Okay, so these are the lines I was speaking about earlier. Okay, so they're never circles, they're always ellipses. So what I would like you to do, so you have written your mnemonic, you have written a glossary, and hopefully you've added to that. What I would like you to do now is to draw a picture of the solar system, making sure that you have positioned the planets correctly. Okay, so obviously we're going to have Mercury, which is closest to the sun. You can use your mnemonic to help you to make sure they are in the correct place. Okay. Once you've done that, I'd like you to write a paragraph explaining how the Earth and other planets move in relation to the sun and the solar system. Now, I would like you to try and include your keywords from your glossary. Okay, so you can speak about the revolutions, okay, the rotation, axes, hemispheres, day and night, seasons, okay, orbit. You might want to write about an ellipse, okay, the solar system, where did the solar system get its name? There's lots of things you can be writing about. I really would like your paragraph to be as detailed as possible, okay? So when I come to read your books, I'll be able to say, yeah, you know exactly how the Earth and other planets move in our solar system. Okay, this is your chance to prove to me what you know. Okay, so have a lovely afternoon. Okay, got lots of things to be getting on with. Okay, so take your time, make sure your drawings, try and use the colours that we spoke about. So obviously you've got the rocky planets and the gaseous planets, so think about the colours that they may be, really trying to make your solar system picture as accurate as possible. Okay, have a lovely afternoon, have fun, and I shall see you tomorrow.